3:00, the reduction in force final decision. Any discussion, thoughts, comments before we entertain any motions or ideas?
Give me a minute so I can call Mary.
She might not be available, Charlie, because I know she's traveling. It depends on if she has service.
Hi Mary, it's Charlie. We're here again for the 3:00 meeting. I didn't know if you wanted to be in on the phone, but wanted to give you. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, Chandel's here. Okay. All right. No. No, I don't blame you. Okay, all right. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, she doesn't want to be on the phone.
Who doesn't?
Mary.
Okay. What, any comments or questions, or anybody want to say anything before we entertain any ideas or motions? Okay, so we have kind of a difficult target to meet with monetary savings. My fellow colleagues have any ideas for how we get there?
Just looking at the anticipated revenue for next year is $1,027.76, or $761. And the and this is just the general fund, the anticipated expenditures is $1,501,589. So we're looking at a $473,000, $828 deficit that we have to somehow come up with, make cuts.
That was off the preliminary
The
budget.
preliminaries, yes,
And-
but, you know, I mean, this is cuts that's gotta be, you know, the anticipated revenue, we don't know what's gonna come in, but we've gotta make some hard decisions as to, you know, where are we gonna come up with this? You know, I hate to go to the extreme. You know, I'd rather, I don't know, I would rather, instead of, well, let's wait and see if we can come up with, you know, different ideas, or where can we cut here and where can we cut there, and still then a month down the road saying, well, we still can't come up with enough. We have to do a reduction in force. So in the meantime, we're spending money that we don't have. It's a tough decision.
Ms. Lori. I think that we have to go to the extreme myself. If then we're proved different, there is more money there, we can always come back and rehire. I know that doesn't sound very comforting, but, I think that we're at that point that the extreme is what we're looking at. I really do.
What are your thoughts?
Oh, I agree with you guys, I just don't know where to begin on the positions.
Well, let's get it over with.
Okay.
All right. Here's my thought, Roman. We eliminate one position from the treasurer's office. We eliminate the half-time county attorney. We eliminate one from dispatch, one deputy, and the changes that we had talked about in the health department
And then investigator.
and the investigator, yeah.
So Commissioner Simons is proposing one RIF in the health department, one RIF in the treasurer's office, one RIF in JP Court, which is the probationary investigator, a RIF in dispatch, a RIF in the deputy, and a RIF in the county attorney's office.
And I would make a motion to that effect, if anyone cares to second it.
That's kind of where I was going along the line, you know, was, you know, it's, the sheriff's office was real hard for me, but, you know, I really think that we need to get the department heads to sit down and, you know, like I say, if we can come up with something else, and we can find that, we can hire somebody back. It's just, I just think that we just have to do what we gotta do and
Well,
make the budget balance.
Marcia?
I just have a couple of questions. Can you explain to me how, when the county attorney surcharges, which are designated specifically to pay deputy county attorney salary, are actually greater in revenue than what she's costing us? Those funds have to be earmarked for that purpose, and I guess I'm wondering how that decision saves the county any money. It's not like you can use it for other stuff. By statute, that is first for the deputy county attorney and then to other salaries in the county attorney's office. Secondly, I would be interested in hearing why the idea of you guys coming in one day a week each, answering the phones, answering emails, doing administrative work, and riffing the commissioner assistant isn't going to work.
Yeah, as I recall during our campaign, that was one of the things I heard from you, Dwayne,
What's that?
that if we had to make cuts, that would be one of the first persons to go.
The administrative assistant.
And we have cut it back.
We have cut it.
Cut her back from what to what?
It was a full-time position.
Cindy was a
I
full-time?
thought it
Yes,
was
it was.
32 hours,
Yeah, I think it was 32.
She was 32,
32.
right.
so you've cut 12 hours? Or, is that right, 20 now?
So wouldn't that 20 be able to be used up by the 3 commissioners?
You'd think it wouldn't cost us any more money. I mean, the way it looks, by statute, I mean, the formula for the salaries for the county commissioners, is a portion, for part-time, is a portion of the, base salary of the clerk and recorder plus $2,000. And, I know you guys are receiving, half of the base salary of the clerk and recorder plus $2,000. And, even if each of you was in here one additional day a week, it still wouldn't get you to full-time, or half-time, excuse me.
And would you, Stacy, be willing to keep the minutes and everything for us, like it
Yep.
used to be years ago?
I'm gonna do that. And HR can come back where it's
Mhm.
supposed to be.
Do you guys figure you're gonna, I'm a little confused as to a dispatcher to deputy. I understand the dispatch, but a deputy instead of detention, what's your thought there? So I understand that a little better.
Well, Dwayne made this proposal.
Yeah, I just think it, well, it'd be more money, more savings done.
Just based on salary or?
That was my thought, yes.
The thing I don't like about that, like I said earlier, is the reserves that we have now, we can't use them. And that just puts us that much.
Who told you that you can't use them?
It's
State
state law
law.
says it.
You can't use the reserve deputy to save money on a regular deputy. And that's not a direct quote, but that's the general idea.
And the, like I said, the bad thing about that is we have to rely on those reserves from time to time. And now we can't use them. So it really, really puts us in a bind. I don't wanna see anybody go, but I'm trying to think what's best for everybody involved, but my number one priority is public safety. And doing this jeopardizes that more than another option.
Well, is there,
Well, if we're eliminating that position, so you only have so many, I mean, how did we use our reserve deputies in the past?
We've always been staffed enough that the state law didn't affect it.
Our policy says that if you RIF somebody, if you eliminate a position, you have to call the person who filled that position who was RIFed
Right.
back within a period of a year. So if you eliminate a position, you can't, under our policy, you cannot fill that with someone else, i.e. have a reserve come in and do that job, because you're violating county policy with regarding recalls, first of all, and I can see if I can find that statutory reference as well.
732-212.
Thank you. Let me look at it. A local government may not reduce the authorized number of full-time law enforcement officers through the appointment or utilization of reserve officers. I don't think it gets much clearer than that. You can't RIF them and still use our reserves. And just to be clear, Dwayne, when you said investigator, are you talking the misdemeanor probation and investigator, or?
Yes, both positions.
Okay. And then I would ask the same question then, I guess, about financially, given the information that you've been provided with about sort of collateral costs that will accrue to the county in terms of increased incarceration costs, loss of revenue, those types of things, how I would be interested in hearing the thought process behind how that decision was made as well.
I think that position will have to be shifted to the sheriff's office like it used to be. We're just gonna have to make do. That's what this is all about. It's not that anybody wants to do this.
What
But-
position?
Not the position, but the duties.
Duties for who though? That's what I'm asking.
Adam's job is what I'm
Are you
saying.
talking about an investigator, or are you
Investigator
talking
part.
about probation pro, what?
Whatever part you can do. Wasn't some of
There's-
that
there's
done?
First
always-
of all, the
Wasn't some of that done by the sheriff's office before?
Not in my tenure, even when I was a deputy back in the early nineties, there's always been misdemeanor probation officer, part-time. I don't
in fact,
ever
I think
remember
Lorna
there
used
not-
to do that.
Yes.
Lorna, Jennifer Armour.
Yeah, the other thing is, I mean, your finance consultant pointed out a while back that the misdemeanor probation portion needs to be associated with the justice court. So I don't think that you can violate the statute by making the sheriff's office
Right.
do that.
Yeah. He falls
Not the
under
misdemeanor
JP.
probation.
Right,
Right.
that's
So
ours.
we're just talking about the investigator part.
That's ours.
So let me
That's
let me
up
make
to
sure I'm understanding this right. On the investigator portion, we're not saving the county much, if any, money on that deal because that's a grant funded position. So the options, as I've stated a number of times, are to either eliminate the position entirely and give back that grant funding, or keep the person who's in the position in the position. You cannot shift those duties to another department. Brian Hopkins has made that very clear. We don't have a bump policy. Our recall policy would also prohibit it, as would the criteria that we've been told to look at, i.e., is the position essential? If not, the person with the most or the least seniority is the first to go. There's nobody in the sheriff's office that has as much seniority as Adam, and nobody has as much seniority in that particular position.
Well, I know that I'm a little bit concerned with maybe riffing both a deputy and the probation investigator position because they sort of are both law enforcement. Currently, the way they're set up, one's a deputy and the other one's kind of an investigator that does primarily the sex crime. Is that right, Tom?
It's, assault, family assaults.
Mm-hmm.
The sex crimes is something else.
Correct, no, that's the same thing.
It's part of
all-
it.
Yeah, it's violence against women grant, it's, domestic violence, sexual crimes, crimes against children.
So I appreciate Commissioner Simon's aggressive motion. Is there a second or further discussion or another motion?
Well, I would hate to have to limit Tom of not being able to use reserve deputies. I mean,
It definitely, it's a huge blow.
Can you exchange the commissioner's admin for the deputy?
Pardon me?
Can you exchange
well,
the
it's,
commissioner's-
you know, it's once again, you know, I'm sorry, Tom, but you sat here and said, you know, it's not my problem, it's your problem.
No, I've never
Yes,
said that to you,
and-
ever. I have not said that to you ever. Never.
We've got it on tape.
No, you don't, because I've never said, I'd like to see it then,
Okay, we'll.
It's on YouTube.
We'll show it to you.
because I've never said that. I know other people have, but I haven't. There's times when I want to, and I walk away from it.
I will go with keeping the deputy, but when it comes down next week to sitting down with the budgets, I want you sitting here, and we have got to come up with some. If it means more cuts, it's gonna mean more cuts. If we have to cut the budgets more, we'll cut the budgets more. Right now, we're doing a reduction in force here, but when it comes to sitting down with the budgets, there may be more cuts.
Laura, you know I'll be sitting there
So,
with you, going
okay.
through that next week.
Roland, you've got some.
Oh,
I need to ask you, just because I'm curious, when you talk about one cut from the health department, when we have 1.7 FTEs. So I don't know who's gonna get cut at 1.7 FTEs. Am I right?
Well, I actually am, I'm a little confused
It's
because
no worry.
Dwayne's.
it appears Commissioner Simon's motion has died without a second. Is there a new proposed motion?
Peggy, do you want me to explain that?
Yeah, because I'm curious.
So, I think what they mean, correct me if I'm wrong. So Shirley, applied for the job.
Right.
Oh. I can't say, I'm not supposed to say names. So, your administrative assistant applied for the treasurer position job and she received it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that wouldn't have been, you know, that's only 10 hours in the general fund
Mhm.
anyway. But that is one less person, so she'll go there. And then you were saying that you were thinking, the billing clerk could go and fill that position.
Yes.
So in a sense, you
That's
are
it.
one.
Yeah,
Person.
That's
that
it.
would be the vacancy.
In the-
She applied for Chandel's job.
In the past, you all have talked,
Chandel's job, so
Oh.
she's actually, yes.
in the past, you all have talked about, part of the problem, having been that receivables haven't materialized in the way that they were expected to, or revenues haven't materialized in the way that they're expected to. I assume when you talk about those revenues, you're talking about, generally, like, taxes, all of that, I mean,
Anticipated revenue.
anticipated tax revenue as a part of that? Okay. So if we had a business that was $113,000 in arrear on their taxes, that would, if they paid that, that would certainly help us out a bit,
But
wouldn't
we
it?
don't know.
Right?
I mean,
You don't
I
know?
mean, we don't know that it's gonna come in.
Right, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
what I'm
But if it
saying.
did, it would help us, right?
Right.
Okay, that's all I was wondering. I don't think she's here. No. Yeah, this morning we heard about sucking it up and whatever, and we also heard that that individual's business was in arrears. So, it got checked out, and it's actually $113,000 that they're in arrears.
But that doesn't all come to the general fund, doesn't it? Am I
No, it
correct?
doesn't, but it would certainly help.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, but most of that money goes to the schools and the cities, you only get 25% of it.
Well, it still help.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm gonna see that. In the state, it's.
It still helps.
Well, anybody have a second proposal?
I'll make a motion that we, do a reduction in force, one in the treasurer's office, one in the sheriff's office, one, misdemeanor probation officer, and then whatever, you know, the health department, if they can transfer somebody over, and then the half-time county attorney.
Okay, so to be clear on your motion for the minutes, RIF 1 in the health department, RIF 1 in the treasurer's office, RIF 1 in JP Court, probation investigator position, RIF 1 in the sheriff's office, and which area of that were you thinking?
The what?
Which area of the sheriff's office were you proposing?
Dispatcher.
One dispatcher from the sheriff's office, and the half-time county attorney assistant in the county attorney's office.
Yep.
I have a question. I mean, I guess I'm a little confused as to why we're looking at cutting offices that are more essential, like the sheriff's deputy, county attorney's assistant. And I'm not anything against Charlie, but her position, even though it's not a lot of hours, can be absorbed back into other departments that are already getting paid. Why is that not being an option? Why is that not being looked at?
We're not saying that that's not gonna be I mean, we're still looking at cuts. We're still looking at cuts.
And
It's-
that's all, I'm just asking, as you know, it's been asked a couple of times and kind of just brushed over. I didn't know, if, you know, what was going on. I would just hate to see.
This
an
isn't gonna
officer-
do it.
I'm just saying, I would hate to see an officer go who was there to protect the community versus.
Her current motion did not include an officer. It was a dispatcher.
Okay.
And what we're talking about today is like just outright rips from a department. I think what you're talking about is what we also have on our plate for after preliminary budget is savings with, we can't really rip a position when the position isn't, you know, the HR position is only part of her job. She also has some other hours she works. So we will be talking about that as well. Like, that's why I asked Stacy if she was willing to do the minutes. Those will be on consideration for kind of our budget, you know, cuts, if you will. Right now, we're just talking about a reduction in force manpower from the county rolls. Coming soon will be the PO box idea, the HR idea. I mean, we still have to consider those. Those are just actually so small. The RIFs are the main thing, and we have to decide it now because the budget year starts July 1, and so we're already a little bit struggling with how we're gonna go, but
How does that position differ from other, I don't understand how that position differs from, say, a dispatcher, or, I mean, why is that different? Why is that something that you're not gonna consider until later?
I'm kind of on that same line as well.
oh,
I don't see the distinction, so if you could explain that, that would be helpful.
well, I guess I just was thinking that I hadn't thoroughly researched it to see what the unintended consequence might be. The idea is a good one, I wanna look at it.
Well, it appears the unintended consequences aren't a priority here.
And again,
Probably
if it is
sit
a
here and argue all day.
Yeah.
I would second Laurie's motion. Let's get this done.
Okay, motion has been made by Commissioner Johnston, seconded by Commissioner Simons. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
When does this take effect?
that would take effect. Yeah,
Our policy says that we have to give as much notice as
As much
possible.
notice.
I would advise against it happening today.
as much notice as possible. So we'll probably have to send out these horrible letters and then,
so we can expect a letter. I mean, obviously, we want to be able to talk to our people and have to have some kind of an idea to tell them.
Are you thinking 2 weeks notice, like what we would have to give if we decided to quit?
Well,
What
as
do you
Marcia
think?
pointed out, the policy says as much notice as possible.
Yeah, what do you think that means?
I don't think 2 weeks is unfair.
Okay,
I think it's reasonable.
okay.
Then my next question is insurance, health insurance.
They can look at that with the HR, or
Okay.
with, I mean,
Oh.
they can, because they can go on Cobra and,
Yeah, typically
You know.
they're covered through, if they work a day in July, they're covered through July. As far as the Cobra and stuff, they'll get paperwork and whatnot from that.
Okay.
Marcia, I have a question.
Sure.
In the past, we've been told that if somebody's going to be let go, and this may differ because it's a RIF thing, and I haven't been through that, but if somebody's going to be terminated, they should be basically handed their paycheck, and you don't keep a terminated person on for, I'm.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would,
For multiple reasons, I'm
I see
curious.
I see the reasoning there. And I actually, I don't know, I understand, the concern. I mean, you might have somebody who is disgruntled, who maybe, might cause some problems. Let me do some checking on that and see what I can find out, and I'll let the commissioners know as soon as I'm able to
Being
come up
a
with
Friday
a
would,
good answer.
because it was kind of being, questioned back here, but would Monday be reasonable, being that it's a Friday, if she doesn't find out like right now, that it has to be right now? I'm curious.
It seems to me when you terminate an employee, you terminate them right now. You'd never keep a terminated employee on.
Well, and
This is a little different than terminating an
There are
employee. This is a
different-
layoff.
But-
There's different
but
language in the
we're-
policy for terminated employees and ripped employees.
We're prepared whenever we can do the paychecks today or
No, I
whenever.
don't. I was just, it's giving her a little bit of time to, I'm just,
So we could do them today or,
yeah, because they're not gonna take very long. I was just for her purposes of making sure that the county's covered as far as not, because if the policy says as much notice as possible, I don't know. She should look into that just because, what if they wanna.
yeah, I do not know the legalities of it all.
Yeah.
all I know is we're prepared to do a
That's
paycheck.
all I was asking was,
We're prepared to do that.
being a Friday, if
Yeah.
it took her.
But all the legality of it, I don't.
Right, that was my purpose.
It seems to me that when we had our phone conference 2 weeks ago with Brian Hopkins, he did mention a period of time. He specifically did talk to us about the notice requirement. He did specifically reference the fact that we are to give as much notice as possible per our policy. And I believe the question was asked whether 5 days would be sufficient. My recollection of that, and somebody else who was on that call may correct me if I'm wrong, but he didn't believe that was unreasonable either. So, I understand the concerns involved. I also know that in my case, for example, I have 200 misdemeanor files that my deputy is handling that I am gonna have to get up to speed on. And it's gonna be, it's not impossible, but it's a little difficult to do it if she's not here to help me out with that. I've got 89 probationers now that we gotta figure out what to do with them. And turn them all loose?
Can't do that.
Nope, because the court's ordered it. We gotta file a motion to get them off probation. Or pretrial supervision. So that's 89 motions.
Is there somebody we can contract with, like the state?
We're trying not to spend money.
I know, but I mean,
You're not gonna get anybody
we're
cheaper
gonna
than
have to
what.
try to reduce the amount on, I understand that, but isn't there some state agency that, I don't know, I'm asking.
Not that I'm aware of.
Hmm.
Regarding the timeline, then, Marcia said somewhere between 5 days and 2 weeks. What-
I'll double check to see if Brian thinks 5 days is appropriate, still. But I know that was what he had, tossed out on that call. So, I would say that that would probably be all right.
Okay.
Roman, can we just get clarification on the motion and what departments are gonna be affected, how we're a little confused still.
Can you read that, read aloud?
Commissioner Johnson made the motion to reduce 1 clerk from the treasurer's office, 1 dispatcher from the sheriff's office, misdemeanor probation from the justice court, and a half-time deputy county attorney.
And the
And
health
the health
department.
department.
Charlie, you didn't say investigator? Read that again. Let's start
Okay, hang
over.
on.
The misdemeanor probation / investigator.
Yeah,
And that's what his
Let's read it
position
again.
was. The misdemeanor probation / investigator, I guess.
I wrote it down, you want me to repeat it and see if you got it? How I did?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, RIF 1 from the health department, 1 from the treasurer's office, 1 from JP Court, which is a probationary / investigator position, 1 from the sheriff's office and dispatch, and 1 half-time county attorney, intern from the county attorney's office.
She's not an attorney,
Deputy.
she's an attorney.
Okay,
And by policy, you guys allowed me to hire, I don't know, 2 months ago an intern. But if you read our policy, if you make any cuts in my office, he has to go too. So you might wanna put that in your motion.
Are you guys amending your motion to do that?
What's that?
Are you amending your motion
Yeah,
to
I'll
include
amend
that?
it. Yeah.
and Commissioner Johnson has moved for an amendment. Is there a
Roman,
second?
can I ask a question? So my probation, is Cindy in part of that cut or is Cindy going to justice court? Or, no, sorry, assistant position. That's what we're trying to figure out. That's the big question is back here.
Oh,
Is it the full probation office or is it the assistant and the full-time? By you saying investigator, take it as it's the full-time. So that's one question we have back here. I think
It's just the,
everybody's trying to ask.
it's just the misdemeanor probation officer / investigator.
There we go.
yeah, you want a second for the amendment?
I would second that, I thought we did.
Okay, we'll just go ahead and have a motion for Lori's amendment, seconded by Commissioner Blaine Simon. All in favor of the amendment being added to the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
So how many hours a week do we get Cindy in justice court?
Cause she's been 5 days total between the 2 positions.
Yeah, 5 days.
5, okay.
So 5 days, you said?
Well, I know, I can say this hasn't been an easy week at all for me, and all of your ideas, we're definitely considering them for further in the future. And sorry for anyone who's on the receiving end of these cuts today. My heart goes out to them, and I don't know. On one hand, I want everybody to have a decent job and livelihood in this community, but then we're still struggling with Mineral County and its limited tax base. So I speak for Lori too, as you can see, she is tore up about it.
So I'll say this for the record. If next year we're still in trouble, which we will be, and you wanna run a special levy, I'd be more than happy to entertain it, with the caveat that I have all three of your backing and that we have 3 public meetings and I have your support within those communities that you're responsible for. So for you, Roman, like what Alberton, St. Regis, and Superior.
Yeah,
You'll have it, as much support as we
I
can,
think I've
as
told
we're
you that
legally
before.
able
We-
to give you.
yeah,
Well,
We'll put it,
And
Yeah,
the reason
we-
I say that is there's things that I'm not familiar with that I know that you guys know a little more about. And I think that if it's explained to the community that way with you there, I think the support will be
Mhm.
much more accepted than if it's just one of us out there
mhm.
by themselves.
You know, if the law prohibits me from going with you door to door, I can't do that, but I will definitely be able to stand up there and say, these employees need better pay, we need more services, we can't, and the only way we can pay for it is with that. I mean, that would be easy, and because our pot of money is just set, not by us, and well, obviously we need more, especially for increased costs of fuel, cars, wages, I mean, the cost of life goes up, so. No, I think you have all three of us.
And I don't think it stops there, Tom.
Well, I hope not, because I think that the one thing that I've heard a lot today is that we're in this thing together. So it's definitely not, one area, so thank you for that.
I think you have sheriff's department you can be very proud of, Tom.
Thank
I
you.
do.
Yeah, you have a good crew, in my
yes,
opinion.
Thanks.
there's been a vast improvement.
I still didn't hear anybody address the questions that I asked about how you came to the decision on misdemeanor probation and my deputy, given the information that I provided this morning. I mean, did I come back early just to waste my breath? I'd really be interested in knowing how you came to that decision, given. I guess it wasn't considered.
Everything was considered.
Can I ask you when the follow-up meeting is?
A preliminary budget follow-up, it's on the agenda for, what's the date?
So it's kind of like Wednesday,
14th and
Thursday, and
15th.
Friday, I think.
Excuse me?
14th.
14th and 15th is what each
Okay.
department had.
14th and 15th of July.
Peggy, you should have a time. You should have been, you have it.
Well, I probably do, but I won't be here.
I
but-
think we knew that, maybe January.
I think on the 14th at 10 is the clerk of court.
I know ours is on Friday.
Friday.
Got the special permissive districts, treasurer's office is at noon on Thursday, museum is at 12:30.
Mary will still be on vacation, so I don't know how she's gonna be able to be here.
We can probably switch meetings
She knew.
somewhere in there.
She knew.
But she can't be
Yeah.
here.
And
She won't be here.
she made arrangements.
Can I get some guidance on the 89 clients I have on paper? What do I do? Do I send them an email? Tell them they're no longer on paper?
Adam,
wanna
I don't think you can do that without a specific order of the court. So what's gonna have to happen is my office is going to have to file motions both in the district court and the justice court for each of those individuals, and decisions are gonna have to be made by, the district court and the justice court as to, the level of risk, with each of the, individuals in your caseload, and decisions will have to be made about whether their release will be revoked or whether they will be released unsupervised into the community.
Pretty well assessed by risk factors, so I'll supply the risks to you guys starting at the highest to the lowest.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Well, thank you for 8 years. You guys have a great day.
Sorry, Adam.
I hope you guys sleep tonight.
Haven't slept in a week.
From Monday.